Good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television, your one-stop morning show for top stories from India and around the globe. My name is Aishwarya Kapoor and let us start the bulletin with the headlines. Government's fiscal deficit target won't be breached following high MSP for 14 crops, says Union Minister Arun Jaitley. Says a large provision for food subsidy has already been made in the budget. Deadline for ending business with cryptocurrency ends today. RBI had granted 3 months period in April to entities to end providing these services. Supreme Court had refused to stay RBI move against cryptocurrencies. Punjab Chief Minister orders mandatory dope test on all government employees, including police personnel. Test from time of recruitment to through every stage of service. Congress JDS coalition government in Karnataka to present maiden budget today. High expectations on farm loan waiver as JDS had promised it within 24 hours of coming to power in the run-up to assembly polls. And PV Sindhu in the pre-quarterfinals of Indonesian Open Badminton Tournament. Kidambi Shrikant's challenge ends at Wimbledon. Roger Federer in round 3. In women's draw, Caroline Wozniacki exits. Serena Williams advances. Our top story this morning, Union Minister Arun Jaitley has said that the government's fiscal deficit target would not be breached on account of the high MSP for 14 crops. He said a large provisioning for food subsidy has already been made in the budget for current fiscal. And taking to Twitter, he stressed the government's initiative in raising the MSP for 14 crops would enrich and empower the farmers and raise the quality of life in rural India. The government aims to reduce the fiscal deficit for the current financial year ending March 2019 to 3.3% of the GDP from 3.5% in the previous fiscal. According to a senior agriculture ministry official, the increase in the MSP of paddy would result in an additional burden of 12,000 crore rupees to the exchequer. And in what could spell relief for farmers in the country, the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs on Wednesday raised the minimum support price for kharif crops for fiscal 2018-19, and the decision was taken at a Union Cabinet meeting headed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The government assured that the hike won't hurt fiscal deficit and inflation. The move is also seen as the government's commitment towards achieving the goal of doubling the income of farmers by 2022.
In line with its promise to ensure returns to farmers 50% more than their cost of production, the centre on Wednesday hiked the minimum support price for paddy by a steep 200 rupees a quintal. The Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs approved the MSP of 14 summer-sown kharif crops. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said the government has fulfilled its promise of hiking the MSP to 1.5 times the production cost of farming produce. He also assured that the government is committed to the development of the agriculture sector.
ये कोई साधारण फैसला नहीं है, बल्कि एक ऐतिहासिक फैसला है और इसका स्वाभाविक रूप से किसानों में बहुत ही अच्छा एक संदेश जाएगा। उनके अंदर एक सेंस ऑफ कॉन्फिडेंस पैदा होगा, एक आत्मविश्वास का भाव पैदा होगा और हताशा और निराशा की जो स्थिति थी किसानों की, उससे उसे निजात मिलेगी।
The MSP for common grade paddy was raised by 200 rupees to 1,750 rupees per quintal, while that of grade A variety was raised by 160 rupees a quintal to 1,750 rupees. The MSP for paddy common was 1,550 rupees a quintal and 1,590 rupees a quintal for paddy grade A variety. Meanwhile, the MSP for cotton medium staple was increased to 5,150 rupees from 4,020 rupees and that of cotton long staple to 5,450 rupees from 4,320 rupees a quintal. In pulses, Tur MSP was raised to 5,675 rupees a quintal from 5,450 rupees and that of moong to 6,975 rupees a quintal from 5,575 rupees. Urad MSP was hiked to 5,600 rupees from 5,400 rupees a quintal.
इस बात की हमें चिंता है कि रेट ऑफ इन्फ्लेशन को कंट्रोल कैसे किया जाता है और कैसे हम करेंगे, उसकी हमको चिंता है। और रेट ऑफ इन्फ्लेशन बढ़ने के केवल एक ही फैक्टर नहीं होते, कई ऐसे फैक्टर्स होते हैं रेट ऑफ इन्फ्लेशन के बढ़ने के। इसलिए यह कहना कि इसके कारण रेट ऑफ इन्फ्लेशन बढ़ेगा, महंगाई बढ़ेगी, मैं समझता हूं कि ये उचित नहीं होगा।
Among millets, ragi got the maximum hike of over 52% as compared to its existing MSP, followed by jowar with 42% and bajra with 36% hike. The government has clarified that the hike in MSP will not increase inflation. Panjanan Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Also, in a big boost to the education sector, the Union Cabinet on Wednesday gave the nod to the Higher Education Funding Agency, or the HEFA, to mobilize 1 lakh crore rupees for research and infrastructure development at the institutions until 2022. HRD Minister Prakash Javadekar said that this is a 67% increase from the allocation in 2013-14 of 65,867 crore rupees without any rise in fee. Funds for higher education have also been increased by 133% this year as compared to 2013-14 by adding 22,000 crore rupees funding from HEFA. And for the first time, Kendriya Vidyalayas and Navodaya Vidyalayas will also get funding from HEFA. Apart from this, the Cabinet also approved the DNA Technology Use and Application Regulation Bill 2018. The primary intended purpose for the enactment of this bill is for expanding the application of DNA-based forensic technologies to support and strengthen the justice delivery system of the country. Big story from the national capital. Well, in a landmark decision, the Supreme Court ruled on Wednesday that the real power in Delhi rests with the Council of Ministers. Giving its verdict on the appeals filed by Delhi's AAP government against the Delhi High Court's order, the Supreme Court said that the Lieutenant Governor must harmoniously work with the Council of Ministers and an attempt should be made to settle difference of opinion with discussions. The Aam Aadmi Party has called the decision a victory of democracy.
On the broad parameters for the governance of the national capital, the Supreme Court in a landmark judgment ruled that the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi has no independent decision-making power and can't be an obstructionist. The Supreme Court said that the Delhi government has power in all areas except land, police and public order. It also laid down that the LG is bound by the aid and advice of the government in areas other than those exempted. The 5-judge bench, led by Chief Justice of India, Deepak Mishra, also unanimously held that Delhi can't be accorded the status of a state.
जो एक इलेक्टेड गवर्नमेंट है उनका अपना कार्य है, एलजी साहब का अपना कार्य है, लेकिन एक जो सिचुएशन और एक जो व्यवस्था जिसको क्लियर कर दिया गया है कि हर फैसला जो इलेक्टेड गवर्नमेंट करेगी उस फैसला करने से पहले और उस फैसले को कार्यान्वयन करने के साथ साथ एलजी को इन्फॉर्म करना ज़रूरी है। क्यों? क्योंकि एलजी का जो अपना अख्तियार प्रोवाइजो 239AA4 में है कि वो डिसएग्री कर सकते हैं, वो उसका तभी उसको एक्सरसाइज कर सकते हैं जब हर मामला उनके संज्ञान में लाया जाए।
अधिकार जो है वो काउंसिल ऑफ मिनिस्टर्स का है। काउंसिल ऑफ मिनिस्टर्स का जो एड एंड एडवाइस है वो उनके ऊपर बाध्य है और अगर वो उससे कभी डिफर करेंगे तो वो ट्रिवियल और छोटे मोटे मुद्दों पर उस पर डिफर नहीं कर सकते। वो एक मुद्दा बहुत ही अहम मुद्दा होना चाहिए, वो इतना अहम होना चाहिए कि वो जो केंद्र की सरकार है उससे उसका कोई लेन देन होना चाहिए जिसपे उसको इम्पैक्ट हो।
Ruling Aam Aadmi Party, which is locked in a power tussle with the Lieutenant Governors of Delhi since coming to power in 2014, termed the Supreme Court verdict as a big victory for the people and democracy.
सरकार में निर्देश दिए हैं कि अब इस ऑर्डर के हिसाब से सरकार के सब काम होंगे। माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट की तरफ से जो निर्देश आया है उसके हिसाब से अब सारे काम होंगे सरकार में, तुरंत इसके आदेश दे दिए गए।
Delhi BJP leaders welcomed the Supreme Court's decision and said AAP should stop raising their political demand for full statehood.
Delhi should be seen as a full-fledged state and that LG is not the administrative head. With all these contention, the Aam Aadmi Party had gone to the Supreme Court. But मित्रों, आज जो ये वर्डिक्ट सुप्रीम कोर्ट का आया है उसमें आम आदमी पार्टी के ये सारे प्रेयर्स धरे के धरे रह गए हैं और संविधान को सर्वोच्च बताया गया है।
Congress also asked AAP to resume development work in the national capital.
लोगों को अच्छी एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन चाहिए, अच्छा दिल्ली चाहिए, जिस तरह से 15 साल के राज में कांग्रेस ने दिया।
The apex court was hearing Delhi government's appeal challenging a high court judgment holding the LG as the administrative head of the capital. On 4th of August 2016, the Delhi High Court had ruled LG as the administrative head of National Capital Territory, and AAP government's contention that he is bound to act on the advice of Council of Ministers was without substance. With inputs from Anu Devan and Vipin Chauhan, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And in related news, the Delhi government introduced a new system for the transfer and the postings of bureaucrats, making Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal as the approving authority. The measure came just hours after the Supreme Court verdict on Wednesday on the power tussle between the Lieutenant Governor and the Delhi government. So far, the Lieutenant Governor has been the approving authority for transfers and the postings of the IS and DANICS Delhi, Andaman and Nicobar Islands civil services officers. Now, as per an order issued by Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia, Delhi Administrative Subordinate Services Grade 1, 2, Principal Secretary and Private Secretary will come under the Deputy Chief Minister. Sisodia claimed that the central government and Lieutenant Governor had misinterpreted the rules by adding services matter in reserved subjects. However, a top official said that the bureaucrats have conveyed to the Deputy Chief Minister that the officers found the order to be legally incorrect as the services matter was still pending before the Supreme Court bench. And the Supreme Court has also clarified that Puducherry cannot be compared with the case of Delhi as it is governed by a provision which is different from that concerning the national capital. The top court said that the case of Puducherry even stood on a different footing from the Union Territories of Andaman and Nicobar Islands, Daman and Diu, Dadra and Nagar Haveli, Lakshadweep and Chandigarh. It said that Puducherry was covered under Article 239A, whereas NCT of Delhi is covered under Article 239AA. Puducherry Chief Minister V. Narayanasamy has hailed the Apex Court verdict, saying that it was totally applicable to the Southern Union Territory as well. And how could a sapling replace a grown-up tree? The Delhi High Court asked on Wednesday. It observed that felling over 16,500 trees to build multi-story accommodation for proposed redevelopment of 6 South Delhi colonies was akin to leaving the city to die. The High Court prohibited the authorities from cutting down or taking away trees till 26th of July, which is the next date of hearing on a plea against felling of trees for housing projects. It also asked whether any environment impact assessment really was carried out before initiating the work. It also asked why everyone needs to be given space in the Lutyens Delhi when the peripherals of the national capital have so much of vacant land. Now, taking note of a submission that Delhi was running out of groundwater, the court asked the centre and the city government how do they propose to water the saplings which are going to replace fully grown trees under the compensatory afforestation policy. The court has also asked the NBCC, DDA, central and state government to give a reply on this. On to some other news now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi interacted with over 170 young IAS officers who have recently been appointed as assistant secretaries in the government on Wednesday. The Prime Minister encouraged them to share their experiences of field training and discuss the elements of good governance, including Jan Bhagidari, information flows, optional utilization of resources, and people's trust in governance. Recent governance initiatives such as Gram Swaraj Abhiyan and Ayushman Bharat were also discussed. Minister of State Jitendra Singh and senior officials from the Department of Personnel and Training were also present on the occasion. News from Jammu and Kashmir. Well, it is day 2 of Home Minister Rajnath Singh's visit to the state to review the security situation there. Rajnath Singh will visit the Himalayan shrine of Amarnath as well, accompanied by a high-level delegation including National Security Advisor Ajit Doval and Union Home Secretary Rajiv Gauba. Home Minister Rajnath Singh held a meeting with the Governor N.N. Bora at the Raj Bhavan last evening. The governor also briefed the Home Minister about the ongoing Amarnath Yatra. News from the south of the country now. Karnataka Chief Minister H.D. Kumaraswamy will present the maiden budget of the Congress-JDS coalition government today. And all eyes are on Kumaraswamy to see if he will fulfill his campaign promise of waiving off the farmer loans. In the run-up to the polls, Kumaraswamy had said that he will waive farm loans within 24 hours of coming to power. After forming the government, he has cited coalition compulsions and the financial condition of the state as reasons for the delay in the announcement of loan waiver. And on the eve of the Karnataka budget, Congress President Rahul Gandhi expressed confidence about the Congress-JDS coalition government acting on its commitment to waive farm loans. The budget also comes amid coalition worries and speculations about whether Kumaraswamy will make any fresh announcements or will continue previous government schemes. And on to the other top story of the day. Punjab Chief Minister Amarinder Singh has ordered mandatory dope test on all government employees, including police personnel, from the time of their recruitment through every stage of their service. He has ordered drug screening to be made mandatory in all the cases of recruitment and promotions, as well as annual medical examination that certain employees are required to undergo in accordance with the nature of their duties. Further, dope test would also be made a mandatory part of the annual medical examination of all civilian as well as police employees of the Punjab government wherever prescribed. Well, the move is part of a series of initiatives taken by the Chief Minister over the past 3 days to eliminate the drug menace in Punjab. Time to take a very small break here. We'll be back with more news. Welcome back after the break. The RBI deadline to entities prohibiting them from providing services in relation to cryptocurrencies ends today. Remember, the RBI had in its 6th of April circular has prohibited entities regulated by it from providing any service in relation to virtual currencies, including those of transfer or receipt of money in accounts relating to the purchase or sale of virtual currencies. The Supreme Court too had refused to stay the RBI circular. Cryptocurrencies are digital currencies in which encryption techniques are used to regulate the generation of the currency units and verify the transfer of funds operating independently of a central bank. Meanwhile, the Reserve Bank of India has also issued license to Bank of China to launch operations in our country. The decision comes after Prime Minister Narendra Modi's commitment to Chinese President Xi Jinping to allow the Bank of China to set up branches in India during their meetings on the sidelines of the SCO summit last month. Bank of China is one of the very few state-owned commercial banks in China. India and China are focusing on expanding their economic ties and resolve differences on several tricky issues, including on the boundary dispute, by stepping up dialogue. And in more news related to Indo-China ties, in a significant move, India has proposed a bilateral maritime dialogue with China, primarily to find a common ground in the Indo-Pacific region, which is witnessing rapidly evolving security dynamics. Now, PTI is quoting sources as saying that maritime dialogue is being initiated as a part of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's call for a broader vision for the Indo-Pacific region. The move assumes a significance as India is part of the powerful quadrilateral coalition, which was given a shape in November last year, primarily to free the critical sea routes in the Indo-Pacific from Chinese influence. India has proposed a similar maritime dialogue with Russia, with an aim to build a consensus on having a rules-based framework in the region. Prime Minister Modi had presented a 7-point vision and had called for a rules-based order for the region, which he said should be evolved through dialogue. A number of powerful countries, including the US and Japan, have been pitching for a greater role by India in the Indo-Pacific region, which has been witnessing Chinese assertiveness. On to some other news, Bhutanese Prime Minister Tshering Tokgay will arrive in New Delhi today on a 3-day visit on the invitation of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The Ministry of External Affairs said that the visitor will provide an opportunity to advance the exemplary ties of friendship between the two countries. Now, this year, both the countries are commemorating the Golden Jubilee of the establishment of formal diplomatic relations. In the evening today, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj and several other union ministers will call on the Bhutanese Prime Minister. And during his visit, Prime Minister Tobgay will also hold wide-ranging talks with Prime Minister Modi and will also call on President Ramnath Kovind. The two sides are expected to deliberate on a range of issues including defence, security and strategic cooperation. In their talks, Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Tobgay are also expected to deliberate on the situation in the Doklam Tri-Junction, which is the site of a 73-day-long standoff between Indian and Chinese armies last year. And now all the action from the Football World Cup in Russia. And with the top 8 teams of this World Cup now decided, there is one more competition between individual players that has everyone interested. That is the race to the Golden Boot. And leading the race is England's Harry Kane with 6 goals in 3 matches. Take a look at this report.
Harry Kane is England's priceless gem!
England captain Harry Kane's penalty against Colombia in the World Cup last 16 tie also made him the first English player to score in 6 consecutive internationals since 1939 to equalise Tommy Lawton's 79-year-old record. He reached the milestone scoring 2 goals in the team's opening game against Tunisia, a hat-trick against Panama and a penalty kick goal against Colombia to book England's place in the quarter-finals. The other contender closest to Kane is Belgium's Romelu Lukaku. The striker has scored 4 goals in 3 matches, just 2 behind Kane. Though he failed to hit the net in the round of 16 match against Japan, he arrived on the World Cup scene in style when he found the net twice in the match against Panama and twice again against Tunisia in his second group game.
Pass and headed in from Lukaku. Romelu Lukaku with a second goal for Belgium.
Third in the race is Portugal captain Cristiano Ronaldo. He also has 4 goals to his name, but since his team has bowed out of the competition, the tally won't go up anymore. But his goals will definitely be remembered.
Ronaldo! He is a sensation!
Zuma brought that down beautifully.
The surprise package of this World Cup hosts Russia have 2 players in the race for the Golden Boot, Artem Zhuba and Denis Cheryshev. Both have 3 goals against their name and have been the driving force behind the team's success. Zhuba scored 1 goal each against Saudi Arabia and Egypt in the group stage and an important equalizer against Spain, which helped his team defeat the Spaniards in the penalty shootout. Cheryshev, on the other hand, scored 2 goals against Saudi Arabia and 1 against Egypt.
And it's him again. Cherchesov, a pretty astonishing
Another
game.
strong contender for the Golden Boot and a player who's expected to increase his goal tally further is Kylian Mbappe of France with 3 goals. Mbappe scored a goal against Peru to become the youngest player to ever score a goal for France at a major tournament and struck twice in the crucial knockout game against Argentina. Mbappe will also play a crucial role in the team's quarter-final bout against Uruguay.
Mbappe's held back there.
With 3 goals in 4 matches, Uruguay forward Edinson Cavani is looking dangerous in the tournament. With 1 goal against Russia and 2 against Portugal, Cavani is looking in top form and can win the Golden Boot. In the race to the Golden Boot, there is another Belgian player who is looking strong, their captain Eden Hazard. Hazard has scored 2 goals so far in the tournament in 3 games and can prove to be a dangerous player against Brazil in their quarter-final match. Brazil star Neymar also features on the list, having bagged his 2nd goal of the tournament in the team's 2-0 victory over Mexico. He will be hoping to score again when the South American Giants take on Belgium in the quarter-finals.
It was Coutinho who almost...
With 2 goals each in their tally, Brazil's Felipe Coutinho France's Antoine Griezmann, Swedish captain Andreas Granqvist and Croatian Luka Modric are other key players in the race to the Golden Boot. Kumar Abhishek's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And at the Wimbledon, eight-time champion Roger Federer won over Lucas Lacko in the second round. The Swiss, who is the favourite to claim another title, won 6-4, 6-4, 6-1 against world number 73 Lacko. Federer did not face a single break point and he hit 48 winners. Meanwhile, in the women's draw, Caroline Wozniacki exited the championships. She lost 6-4, 1-6, 7-5 to Russian Ekaterina Makarova. Meanwhile, Serena Williams advanced to round 3. And now an update from the Indonesian Open, and PV Sindhu advanced to the women's singles pre-quarterfinals of the tournament in Jakarta. Sindhu beat Thailand's Pornawi Chorchuwing 21-15, 19-21, 21-13. Former world number 1 Kidambi Srikanth suffered his second successive loss to informed Japanese Kento Momota in 2 weeks. And with that, we come to the end of this edition of Breakfast News. Thanks for watching and have a great day ahead.